you like to hear a way to decrease the likelihood of sexual abuse, and limit the pain and suffering of your fellow human? You clicked on this video, so I'm assuming the answer is yes. From the title of the video, you already know where this is headed. So let's go straight into it. No pun intended. Circumcision is removing a God-given, a natural given part of the body. The head of the penis has many, many nerve endings. It's very sensitive. The foreskin is designed to protect the penis. In our ancient past, it was probably healthy for some cultures to circumcise their boys because they didn't have access to clean water or sanitizing wipes, soap, things of that nature. But in the 21st century and the late 20th century, there's no broad, universal reason, health-wise, that little baby infant boys should be sexually mutilated. Because that's what it is. It is sexual mutilation. Now, granted, for the vast majority of people that have this procedure done, there's very little damage done to the sex organ besides the removal of part of it. But there are exceptions to that, and not to get into too graphic of the detail, but I am one of those exceptions. And fortunately, it has not affected my performance throughout my life too much. But I mourn more than just the loss of part of my body that was taken from me without my permission. I mourn the loss of the opportunity to experience sex in a way that was whole and wholesome. More than that, I mourn the slap in the face, welcome to dystopian hell, that was so shocking and ultimately very disturbing. Birth is a traumatic experience. Luckily, there are people in the world right now that are looking at ways in which we can minimize the birth trauma for the mother, for the father, for the child, or children. But I'll tell you one thing that does not help, and that is sexually mutilating an infant after they've just been born. There's a reason why I don't like going to hospitals, and it's rooted deeply in that. My first introduction to a hospital, though I'm alive, it didn't kill me. But most victims of sexual assault aren't killed. And most victims of sexual assault have psychological damage that maybe becomes unconscious for the rest of their life unless they do the work to uncover it. I didn't think this was a big deal for me until I started doing breath work and breathing through childhood traumas. And I realized how horrendous and evil circumcision is without a valid medical reason. Do it just to be pretty or to fit in with the other boys or to do it because it's what your religion says you should do is BS, in my opinion. You should not be traumatizing and sexually mutilating little boys. If you want little boys to grow up into good men, you have to show them that an individual's body is their own. that somebody else doesn't have the right to determine what you're going to have to experience with your body just because they're bigger and stronger. So if you want to lower sexual abuse as these little boys age, don't teach them to be abused. Now, luckily, I have not been an abusive person, but that was because I had good parents. And I have the right temperament to avoid being physically or emotionally abusive. But some people aren't so lucky. And one of the things you can do to give them a better start is not circumcise them at birth. If a man wants to be circumcised, let him be circumcised when he's old enough to know what it is that's happening. If we want to decrease the amount of pain and suffering in this world, we have to take a hard look at where we are causing hurt and suffering for our young ones. Because those young ones grow up, and not all of them go through the self-work to heal from the crap that programmed them in childhood. I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm just coming to terms with my own circumcision. Now, people might consider this soft or weak, but it's real. I can feel it in my experience. It is a real trauma. And I would recommend to you, especially if you are going to be having children or you have a little boy and you have yet to circumcise him, consider that circumcision is just a societally approved form of sexual mutilation. And in my estimation, my layman's opinion is sexual abuse. Now, I forgive my parents for doing it. I forgive the doctor for doing it. But that doesn't change the facts that my life has been altered by that abuse. Again, this may seem really dramatic, and it is. I had part of my fucking penis cut off. You tell me that's not dramatic? So, if you're reactive to this and you've been circumcised, it's probably because you also have this same trauma. If you're a woman and you don't know exactly what to think of it, well, just think about it as having part of your clitoris taken off. But when you're young, so you don't know it any other way. Maybe at that point, if you haven't already understood the message, you will see that circumcising little males for aesthetic reasons or religious reasons is wrong. It is not healthy. I'm sure there's some medical reasons why it should happen for a very, very small portion of the population. But we have the wipes and the hygienic stuff to keep babies from being seriously injured by keeping all of their body on them. Last thing I'm going to do is ask you, comment below, do you believe in circumcision? And do you have a counterpoint as to why it would be better to be circumcised? God bless. Namaste.